letter is unapologetic about exploring her own sexuality and healing others. Please welcome Charla Hathaway.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. Thank you, Daniel, for inviting me. When I was a little girl, I never thought I'd ever grow up to be a sex worker. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of sex work. For the last 16 years in Austin, I have been a sex and intimacy coach where I help people listen to the body, find out about that, learn how to share it in ways that feel authentic and safe. But it wasn't always that way with me in sex work. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about my sexual journey, because we all have one, right? When I was 5 years old, I wanted a penis. I locked myself in the bathroom door, locked the door, and I tried to pee like a boy. I discovered if you can make your own penis, take some toilet paper, roll it up in a little ball, and stick it in your panties. It works. Then I found out if you rubbed it against yourself, it feels pretty good. When I got to junior high, most of us knew that boys had erections, but no one ever said what happens to girls, like getting wet. And I thought there was something wrong with me. So I go back to the bathroom, and this time get some toilet paper and roll it up into a little neat rectangle and stick it in the bottom of my panties. And this is 20 years before commercial panty liners, okay? And I thought I was the only one. So turning 18, I get ready to go off to college. And I think, oh, gotta go in the bathroom again, shut the door, this time equipped with a hand mirror. I better check out what's down there for my first time before I go out there. I, at 18, had never heard the words vulva or clitoris. All I had back then was a vagina, which when I think about it is pretty convenient for the boys, right? It's a great little place for the penis, and then you don't have to worry about the rest. So I get off to college now, right? I'm a senior in college, and my boyfriend and I become pregnant. This is 1970, it's before Roe versus Wade. We discovered an underground railroad of clergymen that would connect willing doctors with pregnant women. So I, as a senior at the University of Illinois, flew to Detroit, checked into a downtown hotel, and I was told at 10 o'clock that night, a codenamed Dr. K would knock on my door, and he, with his little black bag there, would perform my abortion. I was so glad my mother went with me. I had about 20 or so great years of marriage, lived in a small Colorado rural town, wrote for the newspaper, taught school, raised a son with my husband, and about when he gets ready to go off to college, I wanted to go off too. I was ready to go off, kind of on my own. I told my husband I wanted a year marriage sabbatical, a renewal for a year being apart. And I chose Austin, Texas. I felt I was like on my own again. I felt like a teenage girl inside a mature woman's body. Art, classes, chamber music, romance. I fell in love with a Texas man. And we would hold hands in movies and make out in his truck. And we would like write poetry to each other and sneak it in the truck, and he in my Miata car. He didn't get hard, I noticed after several months. And I thought, well, you know, there's so many other things you can do. We shared fantasies out loud. We experimented with a little BDSM at parties and got a massage table. So it was a neat year, and my husband during that year too became very attentive. He wrote me poetry too, and sent me my first vibrator. So we really talked more honestly and deeply about our lives than we ever had before. At the end of the sabbatical, I joined my husband back at this time he got a new job in San Francisco. And while we're there, a brochure comes in the mail from Body Electric, celebrating the body erotic for women only. Body electric, body erotic women. I signed up. I went, and that 3 days with those 25 women transformed my life to my body. I found I could feel my body in different ways. I could not have to perform to satisfy somebody else, but could actually learn how to receive better myself. And the teacher was a little pixie-ish looking woman who called herself gender fluid, and she would sit stark naked in front of us, her legs spread, talking about her female parts. And I thought, I want that job. Well, it was hard loving two men, right? In a world that says you're only supposed to love one forever, 24/7, exclusively, under the same roof, until you die. I was depressed. I didn't quite know what to do. I decided to come back to Austin, and where my Austin lover was. So I get to Austin and I need a job. I look down at the end table, there's a chronicle. Amazing escorts of Austin earn $5,000 in a week. I looked at my other end table of the books that I had been reading for months. Women of the Light, the New Age Sexual Healers, Promiscuities, Real Live Nude Girls by Carol Queen. And there's an essay called The Call Girl. And she's going on her first gig, I guess. And it's an elderly gentleman who had lost his wife. And he told her, he said, you know, my wife, I miss her so much. She had the biggest breasts. I mean, like melons. And though I don't get hard now, I just want to bury my head in your breasts. And I thought, I could do that. So before I lost my nerve, I picked up the phone, I made a phone call, I lied about my age, and said I knew what full service meant. I tried to act as mature as my 54 years at that point let me feel. Ended up going to the interview in a little Victoria's Secret dress that my amazing mother gave me. I knew I was crossing a big line here. A lot different fantasizing about being a call girl than doing it. I knew I had maturity on my side, that I could listen to my body, and I trusted my body. I said, well, I'm going to take this one step at a time. My boyfriend was afraid that I would not have as much sexual energy for him, but I thought it just might be the opposite. Sex work was personally empowering, fascinating, vulnerable, isolating, and healing. Instinctively, I did it my way, with slowness and presence, meandering play, breath. I fell in love with men in a new and deeper and better way than ever before. Their vulnerability, their not knowing, and their longings. A couple months into the agency, I had a client, and he said, you know, you're different, and you're not going to last long in this agency. So I think you better meet a friend of mine. She's a sexual healer. I said, okay. He says, no, I'm using my session, $300, to get you on the phone to her right now, okay? So he gave me a foot rub while I meet this lady on the phone. Wonderful man. And through her tutelage, I quit the agency, created my Body Joy Intimacy School website with the help of my son. I continued my studies with Body Electric, became a certified sexological body worker, have since got my PhD in clinical sexology. I've written books that have been translated into 7 different languages. And I find this work fascinating to help people slow up enough to listen to themselves, into what they desire, to get into I call it the driver's seat of their own sexuality, to learn that in every moment they can touch or be touched by just who they choose. And then they can change their mind. We're such powerful beings. So I guess I make no apology for being who I am and the journey I am and what it has brought me. And I feel so blessed to be able to welcome every pilgrim's heart that shows up at my doorstep to be witnessed for the unique and innate sexual being, to be seen and heard and cherished. And if there's anything I've learned in this wild and woolly experiment, is that things aren't always what they seem.